Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 4, and we are going to be using the Cup Noodle Honda NSR 250R, made by Sergio23 of course, and we're going to be trying to beat his lap time here in Laguna Seca. So there you go, you can see Sergio just featuring the NSR 250R here on the list for Laguna Seca. It's about the best you're going to do. You can't really beat the XG750A Street Rod, but you better believe we'll give it a good go. So I have had this video on my library or storage device, whatever you want to call it, on my SSD to be precise, for absolutely ages, and I just never got round to actually doing the voiceover. So today we're doing that voiceover. We're going to finally show what I can do here in the Laguna Seca on board this bike. And to prove how old this video actually is, you can see on the rider's leathers at the bottom there and towards his bottom that I have got my old DrAce 47 on there, with the one with the turquoise and the yellow number. It is completely changed now. We have that pink sort of background with the DrAce font, and then it says, I think it's a 47 as well. I don't even remember actually. I think it's DrAce, and then a couple of stars on there, and maybe an ace or something like that. Whatever it is, it's not this one. So this one is quite old. But now I must discuss the NSR 250R, because this part is actually really important. This bike that we got right now will not be the finished product once we get into the next faster lap times. There's two options you can do with the NSR 250R to get it within the correct performance index to be eligible for this challenge here in the Laguna Seca Grand Prix. One of them is to increase the sort of power with the NSR and then go for stock tyres, or you decrease the power and then you go for slick tyres. Now I tried both of them. My first run is going to be on these stocks, and then we'll get a good understanding with what it's going to be like with the slicks after this one. It was one that we couldn't really decide whether it's going to be better or worse. It was down to personal preference, but for me, after a couple of laps, it was painfully obvious which one was the better choice. Now we crossed the line there just a moment ago, and we are 1.2 seconds down from Sergio. Yes, we know Sergio is very fast, and he's about the same level as me, if not better, and I'm 1.2 seconds down. And in the past, I would say I've probably been better than Sergio in Laguna Seca. Of course, there are a couple of tracks that we're better than each other at, because that's just natural. And I'm down by 1.2 seconds. Bear in mind that Sergio went for the slick tyre option with the decreased performance on the NSR 250R. Do we need to consider that? You better believe we do. We have to try that out before we end this video. But for now, I'm not giving up on the stock tyres. We never know what can be done and what can be produced if we keep on pushing. And yes, I'm a little bit slower on this particular lap, but it doesn't matter. As I mentioned many times before, I make mistakes, I crash, I go wide, I go late on the brakes, and maybe I make mistakes just in general. But we must continue to keep on pushing. We mustn't dwell on those lack of performance in those particular corners, because once that's happened and that bloody awful wheelie we just seen a second ago into the downhill chicane, it means you've done it once, you'll know not to do it next time. It's a part of the learning curve, part of the experience of getting better. And not just at Ride 4, not just at MotoGP 21 or whatever bike game you play, but even in real life. Sometimes you have to go through those little bit of hiccups to progress and to push even further. And I think that's what I learned the most from these DrAce time trial challenges, even the reverse time trial challenges, that you're not going to get it perfectly every time. Be prepared to have a bit of a downfall, and then you fight back, you bounce back, and you brush yourself off and you continue pushing. So with that in mind, we're going into the Andretti hairpin with a clean slate, still on board the stock tyres. Front is good temperature, but the rear not so much. But we'll now go onto the right hand side here, keeping it nice and tight to the apex of turn 3. If we get this lap perfect, we'll get a good indication if we need to swap to the slicks or not. So far, down by 33 thousandths of a second. Did find myself going a little bit wide into turn 4 in the previous lap, so we just fixed that now. And now going into the mother's corner for the left hand side. Turn 5 a little bit wide, but we do bring on the power quite strongly there. Still down by 0.2 of a second. Have I peaked already on the stock tyres? It kind of feels that way, but I don't want to give up just yet, because you never know what can happen. Sergio's time was set on the slicks, and so was Ruben's, just 2 positions behind, a couple of tenths behind the Belgian ace, or the 2 Belgian aces fighting for the top 10 positions on the category, trying to remove some of the Harley Davidsons from the from the lap times and from the leaderboard, should I say. So we'll like to see it, but I don't think I'm going to bother with another lap on these stock tyres. I've made my mind up. Let's get back in, let's start over and refresh with this slick tyres. So I will have to back out and do it from the menu, you know what I mean, through the dealership and into the garage. So let's get across the line, register this third lap, and then let's take a look at the lap times that we've done so far. So if anything, those 3 lap times were consistent, but no improvements. Each and every one very close, within 0.2 of a second. A few hiccups along the way. Let's swap to the slick tyres. So we did change things up a little bit. We have gone for a not as powerful bike now. I do believe it's a little bit downgraded, but we have slick tyres. What can we produce on this very first lap here? Already, it feels fantastic. Stock tyres are not your friend. The stock tyres kind of get sort of forgotten about when you play so much Ride 4 online, or if you play it even in the career mode where you're using a lot of RM bikes. You just totally forget the feeling of stock tyres. And I think that's what's happening to me with this one. I don't particularly like using the stock tyres anymore. We've done it in 50 weekly challenges, of course, but maybe not 50, because every now and again we do get an RM or an EM bike, which is actually pretty cool, but the most of the time we do get stock tyres. But going into the left-hand side now, this is going to be a crucial part. Keeping it nice and tight to the apex to get a good drive out of there without touching the rumble strip. The rumble strip can be quite treacherous there, so be very, very careful. But we go on the right-hand side. Can we get the corkscrew correct? Braking very firm, chucking it onto the left-hand side. Be careful on the acceleration here. We don't want to wheelie. We did that on the previous lap with the slick tyres, excuse me, the stock tyres, because we are now on the slicks, of course. And now onto the left-hand side, running it wide into the rainy curve. Bring on a little bit of brakes for the right-hander for turn 10. Good acceleration going into that corner. You have to be rather brave going into turn 10. It's one I tend to struggle on of all of them here in Laguna Seca, because we just touch the curb there ever so slightly, bringing on the acceleration. This could be a good lap, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get across the line any moments now, and it's going to be a 1:32.967. So 1 lap is all it took to make a difference. That is a huge difference compared to what we had. We are now closing in on Ruben and then Sergio after this one, so hopefully we can get them both. But if we get close to them and support the aces and remove some Harley Davidsons from the board, I'll be a happy man. So on the right hand side for turn 3, ooh, a little bit scary getting on the rumble strip there, just a little bit, as we now go on the right hand side for turn 4. Slowly bring on the acceleration without touching that unpainted rumble strip. That rumble strip is a pain in the backside. If you touch it at the wrong angle, you can completely ruin your race and even ruin your life, because it can sometimes absolutely throw you away. So we're a little bit down to the ghost, but of course just because we're behind doesn't mean we can't improve. We'll now go to the left hand side, keeping it nice and tight to turn 6, running it a little bit wide and just kissing the rumble strip ever so gently, like kissing your dog or your favourite cat right on the head just before you leave to work. But now on the left hand side we're going into the corkscrew for turn 8, running it a little bit wide and a little bit of a wheelie there coming out of the corner. You can definitely tell it's not a case of just taking this one easy. I'm rather pushing to beat the ghost of DrAce. He's a fine chap if I do say so myself. But we'll now go to the right hand side, super tight to the apex. That's the way to tackle turn 10. I have to bear that in mind for the next time, I do believe. But we go into turn 11, just touching the inside curb a little bit, and this may dispatch Ruben from his position. We get across the line and not quite, but that gap is less than 1/10 of a second to Nittency, which of course is Ruben, one of the 2 Belgian aces in the Discord server. There might be even more Belgian aces as a matter of fact, but those 2 definitely stand out the most. As we now go on the left hand side for the Andretti hairpin, we are ahead of the ghost of Sergio's fantastic creation with the Cup Noodle NSR 250R, beautiful sponsor, which was reworked recently in a DrAce live stream, which of course was the team championship just last week. So I hope you guys enjoyed that championship. Apart from we having issues with the stream, it was an absolutely fantastic battle that really had some great races, a couple of bad ones in there as well, and it was very difficult to try and fix the stream issues as well as to try and actually race at the same time, so it was difficult. But nevertheless, we'll get back to the action. I digress from that. From now, getting onto the rumble strip, we actually gained a bit of time there. We had a little bit of a brake boost, if you will, and I think we might be okay. Braking now into the corkscrew. We're very aggressive on the brakes that time around, dropping it down into the lowest gears. I felt the bike dip them. Oh my goodness, we're up by 0.4 of a second. We're killing it in this middle sector. Is this going to be enough to not only dispatch one of the Belgian aces, but can we do the double in one particular lap? Bringing on the power now. Get ready for the final corner. Don't pull a stoner and brake in there too late. keeping it nice and tight, dropping it down a gear once more, bringing on the acceleration. Is this going to be enough to get the top spot for the aces? Across the line we will go, and it's going to be a 1:32.354. Ladies and gentlemen, job well and truly done. But it's not over yet. Why would we end there? I feel like I'm in a good rhythm here. Let's continue. Let's just keep pushing. Keep pushing until we crash and burn in a big ball of fire. Let's just push. Let's just go for it. Why not? I feel like that was a very, very strong first sector. We'll get a good indication in a moment's time as we cross the sector. Up by 1/10 and a half. That is no joke going into the first split. Just a little bit of a wobble there just to avoid touching the rumble strip, and unfortunately getting caught up on the second rumble strip, which really shouldn't have happened. So on the left hand side for turn 5, bring on the power with this fantastic Honda. It handles like a dream, and speaking of dream, we're on dreamland because we're up by 0.2 of a second. Going into the left hand side now for turn 6, a little bit wide, and we just touch the outside of the track, thus resulting in an invalidated lap. So we went from dreamland to horrorland after touching the outside of the track. It can take just one mistake, just one minor mistake, as we just wheelied down the corkscrew. Wow, that is absolutely mad. We are absolutely going for it, even though this one is going to not count. But why not let it fly? Why not push to the very end? But I tell you what I will do, is I will jump back into the pits to give it a final couple of goes with some fresh tyres. Now, I'm not actually sure what tyre combination I have been using, but all I can tell you now is I've swapped over to the soft front and soft rear. I think the combination I was using was a double medium, but I noticed that rear tyre would get a little bit too cold. So let's go for the soft option tyres now, and I have one goal in mind, and that is to get into the 131s. It is more than attainable. We've seen how close we have been just in that moment ago on the previous lap. Yes, we did go outside and touch the outside of the corner, but we're already up by 1/10 going into the first sector. And we're only 3.5 of a second away from getting into the 131s. And I think when that happens, it's going to be a good night Vienna for the rest of them. Well, at least I hope so, because this is taking quite the bit of performance here to make sure we can get ourselves onto the, well, not the top position, but we'll get the top Honda NSR. As far as the actual leaderboards go, they are dominated by the Harley-Davidsons, which is seen earlier on. Now, we have actually had the Harley-Davidson on a previous DrAce time trial challenge, and it is a very good bike for this particular category, but it's overpowered compared to the rest of them. Not many bikes can compete with the Street Rod within this particular performance point index for this category. But we are up by 0.2 of a second, ladies and gentlemen. I've just sort of scoffed at that bit a moment ago, because we do have a chance here of getting into the 131s. This could be the very lap that does it for us, and if we do, I'm going to be a very happy man. On the left hand side we'll go for turn 11, bringing on the acceleration, bringing on the power. The rear tyre still got cold, even with the soft option, but across the line we will go. Is it going to be enough? It's, oh my goodness, we missed out. But look how close we are now. 1/10 of a second, 1/10 and a half if you want to be pedantic about it, but it's close enough to 1/10 of a second. So it's down to this. The final lap, maybe it's a few more laps, I don't know. Let's just keep on pushing until we get into the 131s. You cannot be that close for the next increment of second without pushing even more to get it. This is what makes us special. This is why we do the things we do here on Ride 4, from not just me to many, many fast riders, because the passion is burning to improve all the time. Until you reach that plateau, to that absolute ceiling that you cannot go any further, that is where we want to be. So bringing on the power now, we're getting up into the second split, we're up by 1/10 of a second. We just need 0.5 more, and we're going to get into the 131s. Very solid there going into the left-hander, but we did lose a little bit of time to the Ghost. I can just barely see the Ghost, just a silhouette just behind the number 3 on this motorcycle. But we'll go to the left-hand side. Do we wheelie it down again? A little bit more in control, but there was a wheelie there, and we're up by 0.2. This could be it, ladies and gentlemen. This could be it. On lap 7, is this the one? Using Sergio's Cup Noodle Honda NSR 250R, do we take the 131? We're going to go very firm on the brakes for the final corner here in Laguna Seca, to the left-hand side, super tight to the apex. Bring on the power, bring on the acceleration, fingers, toes, everything is crossed. Across the line we will go now, and is it going to be enough? It's a 131.929. Job Well and truly done, and look at that, you've unlocked the new Laguna Seca Expert title. Well, I am chuffed. But honestly, the most important thing is those lap times. Pretty consistent towards the end. In fact, pretty consistent from the get-go. Of course, consult this screen if you want to compare your lap times with mine, and maybe you're doing it on a different console, but I tell you what, I very much enjoyed that. And we do actually go up into the top 6 positions. That is pretty impressive. We could have probably got the top 5, but I think at that point I was more than happy just to call it quits at a 131. We managed to get the aces' names up there further into the top 10, and I can't be mad at that. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to tackle this challenge, go ahead and do so and let me know how you get on. So thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below. Hit the like button as well, and consider subscribing for a lot more DrAce content. Thanks for watching, and ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite sate your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.